Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of TEVAdrive, except this time we're doing something a little different. We are doing a mega comparison this time around of 4 different plug-in hybrids and 2 full electric SUVs, luxury SUVs. So on my left you see the Volvo XC60 T8 Polestar engineered from Volvo Canada it's a plug-in hybrid, of course, otherwise we wouldn't be testing it. The total system horsepower in this particular version, which is the Polestar engineered version, is 415 horsepower, good for about 4.9 seconds from 0 to 100. The battery in this car, as you may have seen our other Volvo plug-in videos, the battery in the latest Volvo plugins is 11.6 kilowatt hours battery. So that gives you, a range of approximately 40 kilometers in ideal conditions. The price for the Volvo starts at just around 72,000. That base version of the T8 is only, if you can say only 385 horsepower, versus this particular Polestar engineered version, which goes up to 415 horsepower. So this is the performance version, and we'll show you some of the features which differentiate this from a regular XC60 plug-in non-Polestar engineered. On my right today we'll also be test driving the Audi Q5 TFSI, or they call it Q5e or Q5 e-tron, plug-in hybrid from Audi with a battery that's approximately 13 kilowatt hours. The electric motor is actually a little bit more powerful in the Audi because it's 140 horsepower motor versus about 100 horsepower in the Volvo. So in electric mode, technically the Audi should be faster. So the Audi combines a turbo 4-cylinder 2-liter motor, which is 250 horsepower engine, together with a 140 horsepower electric motor. It's basically installed between the engine and the transmission. So the electric motor goes through the gears, which is different than the Volvo. The Volvo, as we mentioned before, if you watched our other videos of the Volvo plugins, the electric motor drives the back wheels, where the engine drives the front wheels. So in order to get all-wheel drive, you need to use both. And when you switch the modes, the system adjusts which of the 2 powertrains is being used. In terms of the price for the Audi Q5e, it's basically identical. Those 2 cars, the prices are identical. They start at 70,000 or just over 70,000, 72. This one is exactly 70. And then once you throw all the equipment and options, you end up with about 90,000 here. And same with this one. You can stuff it with $20,000 worth of options. So we're gonna look at the trunks of both cars now. Again, we're looking at Audi Q5 plug-in versus Volvo XC60 plug-in. I want to take this opportunity to thank Audi Queensway, part of the Delory group of companies, that allowed us to test drive the Audi Q5e and to do this comparison for you. Okay, so let's have a look. As usual, you can expect most of these luxury SUVs to have a special way to open the trunk. So let's try and do that and let's see if it works out. Okay, let's try again. Okay, it's not as easy. Sometimes it takes a few times. There we go. 3rd time is a charm. So if you want to just maybe come a little closer so that we show the trunk space, you have this little cover, which is standard, just like any other Q5. So the only thing that differentiates this trunk from another regular Audi Q5, of course, is the fact that there's a battery in the trunk. So the trunk is actually a little bit smaller than in the regular any other version of the Q5. And as opposed to some of the other cars, you don't have an extra storage compartment here. So all you do have here is basically this little storage for the emergency tire kit, because obviously there is no spare tire in the plug-in hybrids and most electric cars. So you have like a little net here to hold things down. There's a bit of storage here and there as well. And then of course you have the fold down seats, 40, 20, 40. Okay, so that's the trunk of the Audi Q5e. So this again is the 2020 Volvo XC60 T8 Polestar engineered, and you can tell by this little Polestar sign in the back. Anyway, so let's have a look at the trunk of the Volvo. Again, we'll try the same foot swipe procedure. Okay, didn't work. Let's try again. And it worked on the second time. Okay, so here's the trunk. It is a little bit bigger than the Audi Q5. Same thing, you have the cover here, and you have another position here, so when you can move it up. The issue with this, and every time I do that, is I go back, I forget to close it, and then your visibility is reduced with this thing up. So I prefer to just remove it and fold it like this. It's probably easier. And this way you never forget, and it's not gonna obstruct your view. But you know, for some it might be practical, right? There you go. You just have to remember to close it down. So that, oh, there we go. We have to, I think it'll hold. Anyway, so here is the trunk. It's a little bit bigger than the Q5. The seats are split only 40-20, where the Audi was 40-20-40. Okay, so here's a nice mats for the trunk, and what you have here on top of it is a little storage for the cables. Okay, practical. In the Audi, the only place you can keep the cables is probably here on the left in one of those storage compartments. Here you only have one of those, so on one on the left, plus the little cable storage. The reason why the trunk is bigger here, because of the battery positioning in the Volvo, which is different than the Audi Q5. The battery in the Volvo plugins is positioned in the center tunnel of the car. Okay, so that's why the trunk space does not suffer. Here you have a very decent trunk in the Volvo. So we're gonna take it on the road now. We have previously reviewed the interfaces here, the screens and menus and options and such. So we're fully charged, showing 32 kilometers range. We're on a very cold winter day. It's like -15 with the wind chill, and snow might be coming. But anyways, again, we mentioned to you before that in the ideal summer conditions, you can expect 40 kilometers very easily with the 11.6 kilowatt-hour battery. Okay, let's take it for a spin. And we're gonna keep it in, we'll start with the full electric mode. So we showed you before, the selection of the mode is basically all happening here through this drive mode button. So right now we're gonna put it in pure mode, and then we're gonna try the hybrid, Polestar engineered, and off-road as well. In the off-road mode, of course, the car goes up, but it only goes up to 40 kilometers per hour. Okay, so let's take it for a spin. We're in drive. Of course, we love driving in the B mode, which gives us stronger regen. In the Audi, that's a different way to approach this. Okay, so we'll tell you about it later. So for now, let's enjoy this plug-in Volvo. So because it's a rush hour on a Friday, we would love to show you some highway driving with the autopilot on, but for now we're gonna try and avoid it and see how far we get. So to keep it in full electric mode, you can see the indicator here, which is kind of a nice thing because I couldn't see that on the Audi. It kind of does its own thing. Same with the Range Rover. Here you can see how far you can push the accelerator before the engine kicks in. And it's a nice thing to see in order to keep the car in all electric mode. Again, with only 100 horsepower, you would expect it wouldn't be very fast, but it's fast enough for city driving. So what we like about the Volvo compared to the Audi is it's roomier inside and it has a bigger trunk. Again, part of it is the fact that the battery is right here in the center tunnel. All right, so let's accelerate to the highway speed. We're just at the edge of the electric driving. By the way, you can take it up all the way up to about 120 kilometers per hour in pure electric mode. You have all the safety features like the blind spot monitoring and of course the pilot assist. So let's put it on pilot assist right now. So let's set it to, and it's already, you can see the green steering wheel. So we're in pilot assist. We're gonna take it up to whatever the legal speed is. And as you can see it's now the road markings here on 427 are horrible. So we're not gonna totally trust the system because the road markings are virtually gone, disappeared. It needs a good repaint, okay, to be honest. So so far it's managing quite nicely, even with the lousy road markings. As you can see, it's keeping the car within the lanes. It applies steering. There you go. There's our warning. Okay, so we apply steering just like with the Tesla. We'll see how frequent those warnings will be. You don't get penalized, not like Tesla, 3 times and you're out, and you have to stop the car and restart it in order for the auto steer to apply steering again. So you can see it's very frequent, very similar to Tesla, but it works very well. So we tried it both on the highway and we tried it on city driving. We're gonna stay in the collectors because now it's gonna get confused because it's a lane split and the guy in front of us is going cuckoo as well. Anyway, so here we go. So when when there's a split of the roads, you have to kind of guide it. But it's doing, as you can see, quite well, the pilot assist. So anyways, we have test driven it in various conditions. They are winter conditions. We just went through a snowstorm. The car preconditions, the app, we've been given access to the Volvo app. For some reason, the car just kicked into the gas mode, perhaps because of the acceleration. I didn't watch the acceleration. The car is in autopilot, so it accelerated probably beyond where the engine kicks in. Very soon, though, it should kick back into electric mode. Okay, so in order to stay all electric, don't use the pilot assist because the car will choose its own modes, right? Apply steering. There you heard the warning that the steering wheel goes from green to yellow to red, and when it goes red you have a audible signal, and we're back in full electric. You can tell by the display on the dash. So the comparison of these two cars, they are very good plug-in hybrids. They are both all-wheel drive, different approach to the how the car is powered, because in the Volvo it's separate engine for the front wheels and a separate motor for the rear wheels. So the only way to go all-wheel drive is basically to use both, where the Audi approach is the motor is located between the engine and the transmission. So the electric motor goes through the same gears, the 8-speed automatic, as the engine. Okay, so you can actually hear. Here, it's direct drive. Right now we're in electric mode, so it's basically a rear-wheel drive. And again, the car, the pilot assist accelerated too strongly, so the engine kicked in. And yeah, so other than that, both amazing cars, both very fast. Of course, if you want to experience the 5-second to 100 acceleration in both of these cars, you have to be in hybrid mode, which means you will be using, so here, let's demonstrate it. So when we roll the mode down to Polestar Engineered, right away the display changes and you can hear the engine coming on. Okay, so let's just keep it for a few seconds in the Polestar Engineered mode. The car is very quiet. Even with the engine on, you can see the interior of the car is very quiet, both from the road noise and from the engine noise. Even though the Polestar Engineered version, the exhaust is tuned, so it's there you go. Now we can feel the full power of the hybrid system, the Polestar Engineered hybrid system, and it's very fast. Okay, again, the official numbers I believe are 4.9. The same Polestar engineered hybrid engine motor combination in a S60 or V60. It's obviously faster because they are lighter cars. The SUV is heavier, so you're a few fraction of a second, a few tenths of a second slower to 100. So instead of the 4.5 or 4.6 for the wagon and sedan, you're at 4.9 for the SUV, which is still not bad for a big heavy SUV. And of course the same setup in an XC90, which is the bigger brother, the bigger SUV. You're a little faster with this particular one, okay? And of course the XC90 is offered in a 7-seat configuration, 6 or 7-seat configuration, where the XC60 is only available as a 5-seater. We're down to 3/4 of the battery, showing about 24 kilometer EV range. So let's take it out of and let's go hybrid. The other possibility, as you can hear, the engine is off now. Oops, it unfortunately disappears very quickly. So if we keep rolling it, perhaps it'll stay. So constant all-wheel drive, it basically you will have both engine and the motor working. Pure is rear-wheel drive, hybrid is both. Individual, you can set your own settings. And again, I accelerated too hard and the engine came on. Now it's off again. The fuel consumption for this particular section, it gives you here, it's 11.8, which is a lot. I think Junior has been using the Polestar mode a little too much. So for today, 27 kilometers, an hour and 20, the consumption is 11.8. That because we've been using today, we've been using the Polestar engineer mode. Generally speaking, during our test drives of all the plug-in hybrids, we always bring the average consumption, life consumption down, and most of them are between 8 and 9 liters per 100 kilometers lifetime. So it's really not bad considering that it's a big heavy SUV. Compared to its purely gas versions, you're saving about 4 to 5 liters per 100 kilometers. So you can do the math in terms of the fuel savings. And of course, you can, if you drive short distances in the city, if you're driving 30 to 40 kilometers commute, and you have plugs at both ends, you could go basically without using engine for very extended periods of time. So here you can see the car is able to read the road signs. We're approaching a school zone, so let's put it at 40. And even though we're driving on a city street, the pilot assist is working quite well. Okay, so again, it's steering itself. You can adjust the distance from the car in front of you, apply steering, the warning, increase with this button, decrease with this button, okay? We like keeping it in the closest proximity. If you make the distance from the adaptive cruise too large, then people cut in front of you. The other thing we wanted to mention, which I believe we mentioned in our other Volvo videos, is the fact that the auto steer, if you're not holding the wheel, you're supposed to be holding the wheel anyways. If it loses the lane markings, like we may look at the snowdrifts ahead of us, we may lose the lane markings and we may lose the auto steer. Maybe not. No, we're still good. In any case, if it cannot see the lane markings, the pilot assist, the auto steer will cancel itself, so it'll turn itself off, and there's no audible warning. Basically, the wheel will shake, kind of similar to the lane departure warning. So the wheel will shake to give you a notice that it's no longer auto steering, and the green will turn black. Okay, I think my recommendation to Volvo would be to have an audible warning, so that in case you're not holding the steering wheel, you can actually hear the warning as well. Okay, so let's turn back towards the 427 highway. The auto steer is cancelled. I think that's what this sound was. So again, because we're doing this as a comparison video, Audi does not have full auto steer, at least not in the cars we've driven, both full electric and plug-in hybrids. They have a lane keep assist. It might be available. We have to double check and get back to you. By the time we publish the video, we'll find out if they have a full auto steer. In most cars from Audi that we have driven, it's just a lane keeping assist, which means that when it's on, it'll keep you prompt you back gently into your lane. All right? It's not a full auto steer where you can let go of the steering wheel, because otherwise you'll just be bouncing back and forth between the lane markings, right? So it's not in that respect, the Volvo Pilot Assist system is a bit more sophisticated than the Audi one. Okay, but again, it could be that the cars that we were test driving did not have the proper auto steer option on them. Here the Volvo has a head-up display. Again, it's an option for Audi as well. The functionality is almost identical in both cars. So we're gonna accelerate gently into the highway. Again, we have the blind spot monitoring in the Audi. This is the Volvo. They work slightly differently. There's a flashing light built into the mirror, and in the Audi, it's basically a flashing light is on the inside, not inside the mirror, but on the inside of the mirror cover. So you can see it flashing. Okay, so that's about it for this car. So we're sitting inside a 2020 Audi Q5e or Q5 e-tron or Q5 TFSI, if you want to use the long name. Let's just call it Q5e for simplicity. It's basically a Q5 plug-in hybrid with a 13 kilowatt hour battery. The electric range, as you can see on the display here, is 50 kilometers. That's assuming you don't use the climate. You also have the range showing in the middle here, showing the gas range of 360 plus another 50 of electric range. That's of course under ideal conditions. So today we'll be trying to test it and see how far we can drive. So right now we have navigation set for a destination in Oakville, and we're gonna use, it's kind of close to rush hour, not quite the rush hour. We're trying to keep it at the speed limit and follow traffic on the QEW going from Etobicoke to Oakville and back. So let's switch it back to navigation. Oh, the one thing we wanted to mention in this particular vehicle, before we tell you the specs, is the impact of the climate control. So right now the climate is off, and the impact of climate is going to be shown right here on your screen. So let's turn it on. We have it at 18 degrees with AC off, and the fan speed at 1. You see the range potential plus 5 kilometers. So basically instead of 50, it's down to 45. Okay, so it's not major impact. If we turn on the seat heaters, it gave us a moment ago basically only 1 kilometer impact. Okay, so if we turn off the climate, which is off here, it says that the steering wheel heat only decreases the range by 1 kilometer. We just a few moments ago we turned on the seat heaters. Let me just see how we can set on the seat heaters here. I just found it. Oh, right there. Okay, so even at maximum seat heating, it's still only 1 kilometer. Okay, so let's turn it off because we don't need it. The temperature this morning was plus 12 and it was raining. Right now it's going down. We have a brisk wind coming from the north, and the temperature is down to 9 degrees. So even with 9 degrees, the range impact is, as you can see, it's not huge, but there is definitely, as with all electric cars, any electric devices that you use, including seat heating, steering wheel heating, climate controls, is going to decrease your range. So we don't need climate today because it's plus 9. We're at the end of winter in early March. It's not officially spring yet. So let's turn off the steering wheel heat. We don't need it either. Okay, so there we go. We're back to, we were at 50, we're back down to 49 kilometers. Okay, so quickly, we mentioned before when we were comparing this car, because we are comparing it with the Volvo XC60 plug-in hybrid. So we did mention the technical specifications of this car. It has less horsepower than the Volvo XC60, especially in its Polestar engineered version. We can mention that in the base version, the Volvo XC60 T8 has kind of similar horsepower to this. So this car offers 356 horses total system power versus the 385 in the Volvo T8. So the Volvo is a little bit faster. Okay, so let's take it on the road and see how it behaves. This is a regular Q5 shifter. climate is off, we're good to go. And we're in EV mode. So to change modes, this is the button here. You can see EV, hybrid, or battery hold. We do not see a battery charge mode in this car, so we're going to have to confirm whether this plug-in hybrid is capable of recharging the battery. I am thinking that perhaps in the battery hold mode, it will recharge some or all of the battery. So we'll have to confirm that for you. Okay, for now we're just driving strictly in EV mode and we'll take it on the highway. This car is equipped with quite a lot of goodies. It has a charge port here for charging your phone in the middle. And when you open it, you have two cup holders. And those cup holders, one of them is cooling, the other one is heating. So it's kind of neat. Also, this car is equipped with Bang & Olufsen system stereo. Obviously, Bang & Olufsen is the top of the line sound system as far as Audi is concerned. So we will try and keep it as long as we can. We're doing a little bit of side roads right now on the way to the QEW. We're gonna hit the QEW. It's now before the rush hour, just around 3 o'clock, so the rush hour is just beginning. We may not be able to kind of cruise all the time doing 100. We would use HOV lane, but in order for economy's sake and trying to stretch the EV mode, we will be using right lane, trying to do exactly 100. We'll set we will be setting the cruise control at 100. This is an adaptive cruise with steer assist. So we'll try and experiment with that and see how well it helps you steer. So in the Audi's case, the full auto steer is not available in combination with heated steering wheel. So with us, it's perfect. I would rather have a heated steering wheel rather than full auto steer. And the lane keep assist is still good enough for us.
Please turn left in 200 meters towards QEW.
So let's switch it back to our navigation. There we go. This is your 3D navigation. We're just entering the highway. With most plug-in hybrids, you can keep it in full electric all the way up to about 120 for obvious reasons. We will not be doing it. Some of them are capable of even 130. There you go. There's our blind spot monitoring flashing on the mirror. Okay, so let's set then our cruise control. The controls are the same. There's a separate stack for cruise control right here. So now we are in cruise control. You adjust your distance. You can see that adjusting distance, increasing or decreasing, it's all done through the cruise control stack right here. So we're now set at exactly 100 kilometers per hour. Let's see how far we can get in this plug-in hybrid Audi Q5. Let's see if that 50 kilometer range is realistic. So we have now driven back and forth on the QEW between Etobicoke and Oakville. We have driven almost 44 kilometers and we have, as you can see, 3 kilometers left, which would put us at around 47 kilometers total doing highway speeds. There was some stop and go traffic because it's around 3 p.m. so it's early rush hour in the afternoon. There was some stop and go traffic on the way westbound. Now we're going eastbound. Again, there's some slowdowns, but it would appear that that 45, 46 kilometer doing highway speeds is doable, which is basically an average commute distance, let's say from Mississauga to downtown Toronto and back. Because we're doing highway speeds, it's not as efficient as doing city speeds. So in the city, if you're careful with the stop and go traffic, or if you're not overly heavy on your accelerator and using the regen a lot, then basically you should be able to get 50 kilometers in city driving. You always get a bit more in city driving than you would get on the highway. That being said, of course, reminder that we did not use the climate. The colder the temperature, the more of a climate system impact will be. As we showed you when we started this video, the climate control impact was only 5 kilometers less on the range. Then the seat heaters and the steering wheel heating has an impact of 1 kilometer on the range, so much less. So if you can get away with on the colder days with only using your seat heating and steering heat, then you will have minimal impact on your driving range. So you will see in a moment when the engine turns on, we're down to 2 kilometers range. We have driven almost 46, so basically for a total of almost 48 kilometers on the highway. we're back to our point of origin. We were able to turn on the active steer assist, so the car does come with it. You can see that the 2 lanes, the green, the adaptive cruise is on, and the active steer assist is there as well, so it prompts you back to the center of the lane. However, if you don't respond after 2 bounces, there's a big warning sign that appears in the center screen that tells you to take over immediately. Kind of like Tesla does, except that Tesla will penalize you if it happens to you twice or 3 times. The whole system disconnects. As you know, the autopilot will tell you you can no longer use the autopilot, and you have to stop the car, turn it off, turn it back on again. So most of the other cars that have the auto steer systems do not have that kind of penalty, but also they are not as sophisticated as this Tesla autopilot, of course. That being said, you know, with our e-tron and this Q5 e-tron, the steer assist, and we're actually let's see. No, we have 0 kilometers range. This you can see we have driven 47 kilometers, and the engine just came on. Sorry, there was an idiot that cut in front of us. There you go. Right now you can see that we're using the engine. Just from the diagram here of energy flow, when it turns, instead of green, it turns orange, you know that we're using an engine. Because we're in EV mode, there's different kind of displays that you can use for the center screen. So this is one display. This is the navigation. We just turned on the satellite image on the navigation, and both on the center screen and on this main screen. So basically they have the radio, and then the display which shows the energy flow. You can change the view. This is, you maximize the indicators right here, and then you can see now that we're using the engine because the tachometer is here at the bottom left, showing that we are at 1000 RPM right now. And so yeah, we were able to drive between 47 and 48 kilometers at highway speeds, which is excellent. So the difference, again, to go back to our comparison with the Volvo XC60, XC60 is a little bit bigger of a car. So interior space-wise and trunk space-wise, it has more space. The Audi has a bigger battery because it's 13 kilowatt hours, where the Volvo is 11.9. So it's more than 1 kilowatt hour bigger in the Audi. Hence, we have the bigger distance. We were able to drive the 48 kilometers on the highway in pure electric mode versus the Volvo. Mind you, it was a little bit colder when we drove the XC60 a couple of weeks ago. We were able to get the estimate on the gasometer here was only 32. We're able to drive it up to about 40 kilometers. So the difference is roughly 10 kilometers in range for that 1 kilowatt hour. So the system here in the Audi is pretty efficient. You know, you're able to actually get pretty close to the estimate without using the climate, of course. If you have to use the climate, you're gonna get, you know, 5 to 10 kilometers less on the range. So basically now we're gonna try and play around with the Audi, the recharge, to see the mode, the EV mode. If we press the button here, there you go. Let's try and turn it on to battery hold. There we go. Let's see if e-tron mode battery hold. Let's see if it actually will recharge the battery or not. Okay, so we're still using the engine. We're still showing 0 battery mode, so it does not appear to be recharging the battery in the battery hold mode. We're back to 100 again. The system adjusts, the adaptive cruise adjusts the speed to the speed limit automatically, but no recharge mode. And you can see the indicators here. So you have your fuel indicator here on the right, the fuel, the tank, and then you have the battery state here. And as you can see, the red indicator of the reserve, battery reserve, is on, which basically means that it's using the reserve, the bottom of the battery just for hybrid operation. Right now, because we're on the highway, we're strictly using the engine. So let's basically change the view again in order to see whether the engine is on or not, because you know, the nice thing about this plug-in hybrid, and not all of them are like this, you barely feel or hear the change at all in terms of, we can turn the climate on because it's fogging up and the temperature is actually falling. it was 12, and now it's down to 8. There's a cold wind coming from the north, so the windows are fogging up. So let's turn the climate back on. We're just at 18 degrees for the climate with AC on. Let's turn the AC on so that it clears the fog on the windows. So yeah, so that's basically it. You have the two indicators, the battery on the left and the fuel gauge on the right. As you can see, the indicator says that we're on the battery reserve. What else can we show you? So it's basically compared to the Volvo. So just a summary of the comparison. If you are in it for the performance and the speed, the Volvo is faster. It's minimally faster. Okay, the Volvo is at 4.9. This one will be just over 5 seconds, 0 to 100. Again, the base version of the Volvo has about 385 horses. The Polestar engineered has 400 horses. And this car has around 356 total system power. But it's slowing down again, and it's wrong. It's not 70. Again, it's another case of the system not having the correct speed limit showing. So let's just get off to the side lane and put it back on at normal highway speed. So the difference is, if you're in it for the power, you may want to go for the Volvo. The additional bonus for the Volvo is that it's slightly bigger, so more room for the back passengers and a bigger trunk. The Volvo battery location is in the trunk and also the center tunnel. Here in the Audi, the trunk space is minimally compromised because of the battery in the trunk, and also the center tunnel is, as Junior noticed, it's very large. So the sitting position of the middle passenger is not very comfortable because of this, very large center tunnel. Okay, so that's our comparison. That's our personal opinion in terms of, our preference. Again, in this matchup of Audi Q5 e-tron plug-in hybrid versus the Volvo XC60 plug-in hybrid, our choice would be this Audi because of the longer range. The prices for both cars start at 70,000 and they go up to, you can probably spend 10,000-20,000 in dollars in additional equipment. Feel free to comment if you have any questions about this review or those two cars or any other cars that we review. Please subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.